3 weeks ago, Amara sat beside an exhausted man in a dim hallway and shared her dinner. She gave him her food and her time. She also told him the hard truth. No paycheck in the world is worth driving yourself completely into the ground. She meant every single word. She just didn't realize he owned the massive skyscraper she cleaned every night. And you and I are about to see what he'd quietly arranged over those 3 weeks. Or exactly why. Amara Osi worked the night cleaning shift at Meridian Tower for 4 solid years. 43 floors, glass suites, marble lobbies, a commercial high-rise that practically hummed with wealth at midnight, long after the corporate staff had packed up and gone home. Clocking in at 11, heading out by 5, and in between, she worked hard. She never rushed. She never cut corners. Amara followed her system, finding quiet pride in the fact that when she walked out each morning, every single surface was exactly as it should be. 38 years old. A daughter in middle school, a mother with a bad hip, and a tiny Bronx studio shared between the three of them. Rent and bills were a tight squeeze every single month. Always had been. But Amara was the type to look at a suffocating situation and find a pocket of air to breathe. She picked that up from her mom, who learned it from hers. She wasn't a complainer. She never had been. One thing people noticed, if they ever noticed her at all, was her dinner. A genuine hot meal. Rice and groundnut stew in a sealed container, the kind smelling like a kitchen someone actually cooked in. Plus, she always packed extra food. Not because she expected any company, just because she was the type who always packed more. Every single night around 2 in the morning, when she finally reached the 43rd executive floor, she noticed the exact same thing. One corner office at the hall's end. Light always burning. Late October, on a random Tuesday, that office light still blazed at 2:15. Nothing strange about that. But look closely with me. A man was sitting on the floor outside, early 40s, dressed sharply, though his suit was completely rumpled. He had the rugged kind of face that looked effortlessly handsome for years. No phone in his hands, not doing a thing, just sitting with his back against the drywall, staring at the opposite wall like it had just insulted him. Amara slowed down her cart. She should have kept walking. Wasn't her business anyway. But he looked, and this is the only word for it, completely exhausted. Not just tired, not just stressed out, exhausted in that heavy way that sinks deep into your bones. She stopped walking. "You doing okay?" He glanced up, clearly shocked she was talking to him. Yeah, I'm fine." "You don't look fine." He managed a half smile. "Long day." "It's 2 in the morning. Long couple of months," he muttered. Amara studied him for a second. Then she reached right into her bag. "Got some extra," she said. "Rice and groundnut stew, my mom's recipe." He stared at the container like it was a literal miracle. "I can't take your dinner." "You aren't taking it. I'm offering." She dropped it beside him. Then she sat down a foot away and cracked open her own. "You work in the building." "I clean here." "Working here long?" 4 years. She gave him a sideways glance. "You?" "Something like that," he replied. She didn't push it, just ate. After a bit, he muttered, "Good stew." "I know." He let out a real low, surprised laugh. Amara set her container down. "You and I know this feeling." She looked directly at him and said what she'd been thinking since spotting him. "You know you're going to break yourself if you don't change something, right?" The man went perfectly still. "I'm not trying to be rude," she said. "I scrubbed this floor for 4 years. Watched a lot of people work themselves half to death in these corporate offices, and 0 of them ever looked back and said it was worth it. Not one." He stayed quiet for a long second. Then, "What happens when you just can't stop?" "You stop anyway," she told him. "You just do it." Amara thought about the exhausted guy on the floor for maybe 2 days. Then life kept moving. Her daughter's school project was due. Her mom's hip acted up again. The second-floor bathroom needed extra scrubbing. You just didn't have time to dwell on random strangers. when your chore list was always longer than the night. She almost skipped her break that night. She was dead, on her feet, with 3 floors left. But something made her sit in that hallway instead of grabbing her cleaning cart. Stick with me here. What she didn't realize was that she just made the one choice that would change absolutely everything. The first weird thing happened on a Thursday. Her supply cart was fully restocked. Not by her and not the normal way. The stuff that always ran out mid-shift was suddenly topped off. Her heavy-duty cleaner, the one she had to beg for twice a month, 3 brand new bottles, fresh squeegee heads. Someone even swapped the cartwheels. The old ones had been squeaking since spring, despite her maintenance request. Amara just stood there in the supply closet, staring at the fresh gear. She really didn't know what to make of it. She asked the day boss. He just shrugged. Work order went through. From who? Facilities team. No clue, just says approved. She brushed it off. Still had floors to mop. The second weird thing hit on a Monday, 2 weeks after the hallway. Eating her lunch down in the basement break room, she overheard 2 women from the daytime janitorial crew gossiping about the CEO. Did you see that email? One asked. He hosted a town hall, took real questions from staff. Marcus Cole at a town hall? I know, right? The woman shook her head. And honestly, he actually looked well rested. Amara slowly looked up from her lunch. Marcus Cole. She didn't recognize the name. Never needed to. But their description, early 40s, always burning the midnight oil, invisible to anyone below the executive suites, made a heavy feeling settle deep in her chest. It wasn't him. Couldn't be him. She only talked to some exhausted guy in a hallway. Billionaires didn't usually hang out on the floorboards. She went back to eating. She figured that was the end of it. A random moment she'd forget by dawn. But here is what you and I know. The CEO was already thinking about her when he walked away, and the guy had been thinking about her every single day since. The third strange thing was the meeting. An email went out to all building staff, cleaners, security, maintenance, everyone. Mandatory meeting, Boardroom A, 43rd floor, Tuesday at 9 in the morning. Amara read that email 3 times. She had never stepped above the 2nd floor on a weekday morning. The day shift was a totally different world. Executives were around. Night shift staff didn't belong up there during business hours. She brought it up to her friend Dory, a veteran on the commercial cleaning crew. All staff? Dory raised an eyebrow. Meaning us too? That's exactly what it says. Dory squinted at the screen. Huh, that hasn't happened in 8 years. For Amara, the grind continued. Same dark floors, same heavy silence. She hadn't thought about that guy in the hallway all week. But somewhere on the 43rd floor, someone was thinking about her, very closely. And she wasn't done yet. Amara ironed her good blazer that morning. She didn't own much office wear. Just one navy blazer from a cousin's wedding 3 years back. She slipped it over her work uniform, straightened her badge, and put in her earrings. You might wonder why she bothered. After all, it was just a meeting. She rode the elevator with Dory and 4 night shift regulars she'd known for years. Quiet ride. They all looked a bit overdressed and nervous, which made Amara feel better about her blazer. The doors slid open on 43. The hallway looked completely different in daylight. Colder. Sharp sunlight sliced through the glass. Everything that felt quiet tsupsu in the morning suddenly loomed large. Official, like it was waiting for her. She adjusted her badge once more, told herself she was ready. She wasn't ready. She was nowhere near prepared for what waited on the other side of that door. A woman wearing a headset pulled the boardroom door open. Right this way. Amara stepped inside. The room was packed. Well, not shoulder to shoulder. It was a massive boardroom meant for 40, but at least 25 people were already there when Amara walked in. Executives in high-end suits, assistants holding tablets, 2 obvious lawyers, judging by how they held their pens, and standing way down at the far end by the window, talking quietly to a guy holding a legal pad. Amara froze. She knew the back of his head before he even turned around. The set of his shoulders, the way he stood, like a guy who carried massive weight for years and finally just decided to drop it. He turned around, and there it was. That same smile from the hallway at 2 in the morning. The one he gave when she shared her dinner and warned him he was going to destroy himself. No embarrassment, no awkwardness, none of that guilty look you expect from a guy caught doing something strange. Just pure recognition, real warmth, and something else underneath that she couldn't quite name. His assistant's voice cut clearly across the room. Everyone, I believe most of you already know Marcus Cole. Beside her, Dory let out a squeak, just a tiny involuntary gasp of air. Amara didn't make a sound. Marcus Cole, net worth around $4 billion. Owner of Meridian Group, parent company of Meridian Tower, plus 11 other massive properties across New York, London, and Singapore. She told this billionaire to go home. She actually warned him he was ruining his life. She handed him groundnut stew, straight from a plastic container, sitting on the floor, in a random hallway. A guy in the room was already staring at her. Silver-haired executive, 3 seats down, wearing that blank mask people use when they're trying not to react. He knew. Amara saw it instantly. He'd been tipped off, which meant Marcus spilled the story. He told them all about her. Marcus waited for the room to quiet down. Then he spoke, slow and clear, like a guy completely used to his words carrying heavy weight. 3 weeks ago, he said, I was sitting on the floor of this hallway at 2 in the morning. Someone in this room sat down beside me, shared her dinner, and told me exactly what I needed to hear. She was right, and the absolute least I can do is say that out loud, right here in front of everyone. The entire room held its breath. Amara stood near the back in that navy blazer, badge perfectly straight, hands completely still, and felt the ground shift under her feet. The whole room waited. Let's see how this plays out. Marcus held her gaze. No pointing, no calling her out. Just waiting, giving her the room to decide what to do with his words. He just told 25 executives that a cleaning lady's words mattered. Right there in the boardroom, completely on the record. Amara considered walking right out the door, considered just staying silent. She cycled through every panicked thought that hits when the floor drops out from under you. Then her mother's advice echoed in her head. The only response to someone who truly sees you is letting yourself be seen right back. You and I both know exactly what Marcus Cole was doing. Every executive, every assistant, everyone who had worked beside him for years. Everyone except Amara. Because his next words were either the most generous thing anyone had ever offered her, or the absolute most dangerous. Marcus broke the silence. I want to change how we support this building's night shift, he said, starting with changes already in motion. He nodded at his assistant. Walk us through the facility's proposal. The assistant laid it out calmly. Expanded break rooms, upgraded gear, a formal skills program, plus a paid training pipeline, open to any night shift worker who wanted in. Amara stood frozen. She was what he had been building. No empty gestures, no charity. A real system. He built it quietly over 3 weeks, all because one woman scrubbing a hallway floor reminded him that people work here after dark. When the pitch finished, Marcus locked eyes with her again. Miss Amara, his voice dropped, steady and careful. You told me the truth when you had zero reason to. That shouldn't go unacknowledged. The room just waited. Amara let a long moment pass, then she gave one single slight nod. She was the most dignified person in that entire space. Amara took a completely different route, walking home that morning. Not because the streets had changed. Same old bodegas rolling up their security gates. Same heavy smell of coffee, diesel exhaust, and fresh bread baking near the corner. But her pace slowed down. She actually looked around. She played Marcus's boardroom speech over in her head. She marveled that he built an actual program. Real budget, real timeline, just from one passing hallway chat. He launched the corporate initiative entirely because one woman treated him like a normal human being who desperately needed to hear the truth. She never expected a single thing in return. She spoke up simply because it was right. And maybe you and I need to sit with that same truth. Doing the right thing doesn't always go ignored. Sometimes, a person with actual power is listening. They can turn your words into something real. When that rare moment strikes, you just have to decide if you'll accept it